How do prototypes work in JavaScript objects? Imagine you have a collection of objects, each with its own properties, but they also share some common features. How does JavaScript make this sharing happen? That's where prototypes come into play. Every object in JavaScript has a hidden link to another object called its prototype. Think of it like a family tree where properties and methods can be passed down from ancestors to descendants. This link is stored in an internal property called prototype, which you can access through special ways like prota or the function Object.getPrototype. When you try to access a property on an object, JavaScript first checks if that property exists directly on the object. If it doesn't find it there, it looks up the prototype chain, checking the prototype object, then the prototype's prototype, and so on, until it either finds the property or reaches the end of the chain, which is null. This process is called property lookup. It's how objects can share methods without copying them into each individual object. For example, all objects created from the base object inherit from object prototype, which provides methods like toString and has own property. You can add new methods or properties to an object's prototype, and all objects that inherit from that prototype will have access to those additions. This makes your code more efficient because you don't need to add the same method to each object separately. You can also create objects with a specific prototype using Object.create. This method creates a new object that directly inherits from the prototype object you specify. When using constructor functions with the new keyword, the created object's prototype is linked to the constructor's prototype property. Any methods you add to the constructor's prototype will be available to all objects created with that constructor. Sometimes, an object might have its own property with the same name as one in its prototype. When this happens, the object's own property takes precedence, hiding the prototype property. For example, if you have an object with its own name property, it will use that instead of the name property from its prototype. To see how this works in action, consider a simple example. You create a constructor function called person, which takes a name. You add a greet method to person prototype. When you create a new person object like Alice, she can call greet even though she doesn't have her own greet property. Instead, she inherits it from person prototype. Understanding prototypes is key to mastering JavaScript because it explains how built-in objects like arrays and functions share methods. It also helps you write better code by sharing methods through prototypes instead of duplicating them. This concept is the foundation for more advanced ideas like classes and inheritance patterns in JavaScript. It also makes debugging easier because you can inspect the prototype chain to see where properties and methods are coming from. In short, prototypes are the core mechanism that allows objects to share properties and methods through a linked chain of objects, making JavaScript a flexible and powerful language for object-oriented programming.